They say you don't call on Google Hangouts, you don't breathe into the mic, you don't go respond to those work emails, and you don't mess around with Jim. I do.
Oh no, you got real quiet. You got to lean into the mic, Brooklyn.
Oh no, did I get quiet?
Yeah,
it's literally right here. I can tap it. Boom, boom.
You leaned back at one point, and it got.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe you should breathe into the mic.
Well, maybe I should.
Well,
just to let people know that it works.
Yeah, and then next time we'll mess around with Jim.
Yes, we will. Well, I mean, we always mess around with Jim.
Oh yeah. Oh, especially when he starts talking football.
Yes, boy! Especially you just wait till when the Giants are good next year. I will be talking so much shit, and then
I will also be eating my hat if that happens.
I don't think we'll win the division, but I definitely think there's like a playoff berth. I mean, like, we'll just pretend just take the experience of our coaching staff, and not necessarily the reputation that they have. And then I mean, we'll get there someday.
It'll be great until you get to the fourth quarter. All right, so
I just want to say I miss you. You weren't here last time, and I felt lost. I compare our relationship on this show to you driving the car on a road trip and me looking at the map and being like, ooh, there's a Popeyes. Let's stop here. And I already placed an order for us.
I like that. That's great. That's a good metaphor. And you picked the right fast food fried chicken chain to stop at.
Yes, absolutely. There's only one.
Yeah, I agree with you there, actually. But guys, welcome back to the Turntable. I was on an internet hiatus last month.
Weather issues, I believe we said last episode.
Weather issues and also just lack of internet service having moved into a new place. But we're back with a new episode. This is going to be Brooklyn, I'm not going to lie. I think this one might be the most scattered opinions that I've had for an episode so far.
Divisive, let's say.
Divisive.
Think like, imagine the four of us on a swing and nobody's kind of on the same rhythm, and one person's kind of like slowing down, trying to get there. But yeah, maybe some of us will crash into each other. Who knows? As long as we don't jump early and destroy our knees.
Well, I hope that's the case. Let us start with our first guest. We've got two guests today that we've had on multiple times. We love having them on. We love their taste in music. Scott Harvey, how you doing today? What you bring to the table?
Hey guys, happy to be here. 2025, great year for music, and I listen to like everything. So I'm very excited to be on here. I brought, again, I listen to everything, so there were a lot of choices, but I just thought, let's keep it simple. Let's choose my favorite album from 2025. So I picked the album Forever Howlong by the British indie pop rock group Black Country New Road. Favorite album of the year. But luckily for me, two of the other albums that got picked were also in my top 10 albums for this year. So going to be fun to discuss.
All right. And thank you for reminding us. I forgot to mention this at the top of the episode, but you probably saw it in the title. This is the 2025 recap. So this is all going to be albums from the year 2025. And let's bring on our final panelist, Amaru Moses. How you doing, man? What you eating? What you bringing?
Bunch of stuff in a salad, some honey barbecue bites, and some quinoa and rice from Jamie Oliver, microwavable quinoa and rice stuff.
It sounds delicious, honestly.
I don't listen to anything. I actually don't listen to music much anymore unless it's from the 2000s or the 1990s or the 2010s. So
explains your choice.
So I picked one of the few albums I actually listened to this year, what I consider to be the best hip-hop album of the year. Though Kendrick's was great, I brought Clipse's Let God Sort 'Em Out.
All right. Brooklyn, what did you bring?
I decided to keep in my roots and pick another Canadian, and we went with Shad with his album "Start Anew."
All right. And I brought Charles Kelly's Songs for a New Moon. We'll get a little bit more into detail as to why I picked that one later. But we're going to start with our audience choice album. We put a poll out in the video store as well as in the 500 Takes chat. And everyone picked Ego Death at a Bachelorette Party by Hayley Williams. So Hayley Williams, as everyone probably knows watching this, front woman for Paramore. I believe this is her third solo album. Thank you, Scott. I knew you would know this. So what does anyone want to jump in on this? Does anyone have any strong opinions on this that they want to get started?
Sure, I can.
Okay.
Probably not a surprise. This is one of the other albums I was alluding to there, that this was
what?
One of my favorite from the year. Paramore's, I'm a huge fan, arguably my favorite band of all time. But I've not gotten into Hayley Williams' other solo albums. I don't think they've clicked for me. But when this album came out, and I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but it had a very strange rollout, which is that 15 of the 17 songs were released all as singles all at once, basically. And so if you wanted to listen to the songs, you had to go on and listen to them individually, in whatever order you wanted. And people were making custom orders, this is my version of the album. And then eventually Hayley did release the songs as an album, and then she also added 2 or 3 new songs at the end. So that is how Ego Death at the Bachelorette Party came about. But this album just really worked for me. I think one of the things that I like about Paramore is that they're constantly growing and reinventing themselves over the years, and I think this album shows Hayley's versatility and ability to go between genres. I think is something that we see a lot of on this album. I think, like I was mentioning the rollout there, I think if there's a weakness of the album, that it maybe doesn't seem like a cohesive whole. It maybe does seem more like a collection of songs, but so many of the songs are really good that it doesn't bother me that much. But yeah, like I said, you see her going, to all different places. There's some pretty experimental tracks, like the opener, Ice in My OJ. Also, the song Showbiz uses auto-tune very heavily in a way that I think is super cool. You have something like Whim, which I just think is kind of a perfect pop song, and just shows, Hayley's ability to craft a great hook. You have a song like Love Me Different, which has this almost ska bounce to it, which I really enjoy. And then you have some songs which are more lyrics forward, like the title track, like True Believer. A lot of people really love the second verse of True Believer. I like the message of the second verse of True Believer. I think it's written in a somewhat on the nose way, but I still get behind that song. And then obviously the Morgan Wallen diss on the title track is one that sticks with you. But yeah, there's just so many good songs on this album. Hayley's voice is forever iconic, and just grabs you.
That's something I really want to bring up. That's actually something I really want to bring up with this album.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I think Hayley Williams' biggest strength as an artist is her voice. And I think that the production actively hurts it on this album. I think that a lot of the auto-tune, the melodyne, or just the effects that are put on her voice actively weaken this album for me.
Yeah, I don't feel that way. I think the few songs where we do see some more production moments, I think are, experimenting in cool ways. Like I said, like Glum is another example where we get this almost like chiptune style in the chorus of her voice. I think, when you have an album that's 17 songs long, you have to reinvent things a little bit. And I think that it's cool to have those moments in there amidst the stuff that we're more familiar with Hayley Williams doing. We should say that, one of the producers on this album was Jimmy Stack, who also did Lord's album from last year, Virgin, and a lot. I think Virgin was another album that sort of lived or died based on what you thought about the production of it. So I'm not surprised, I guess, for that to be your take from this, because it probably isn't going to work for everyone, especially if you're like a Paramore fan and you're expecting to hear just a lot of stuff that's in the vein of Paramore. But I think it's cool to hear her, reinventing herself in these ways, and it produces some of my favorite tracks on the album. And then you still have a lot of the other stuff, and of course the other thing to mention is that this album was written in the wake of her breaking up with Taylor York, who was her friend and fellow member of Paramore. And a lot of the songs are reflecting on that. Probably my favorite song reflecting on that aspect is, I think it's the last song, Good Old Days. Really good song. But great album overall. I think it just shows, again, Hayley Williams' versatility as a performer, as a songwriter, and just sort of as a modern musical icon. Like, I think she absolutely is.
See, I love Hayley Williams. I love her voice. I love her passion. I love her attitude. Like you brought up the Morgan Wallen line. She doesn't say his name directly, but we all know that that's exactly who she's talking about when she says this racist country singer's bar.
It's either him or Toby Keith, right? Because Toby Keith also had a lot of bars or whatever named after him.
Or even maybe Kid Rock, if we're being honest. But this album was kind of frustrating for me. It was kind of frustrating in its inconsistency. As I brought up, sometimes I feel like her voice kind of gets smothered by some of the production. There are some times that it works really well, like on songs like Glum and Ice in My OJ. And I tried on my second listen through, because I got to listen to every album twice. I tried on my second listen through to distance the fact that it's her solo and not Paramore. But all the songs that were a lot more rock oriented did work better for me. That's not to say that there weren't some that didn't work. But, Parachute, Hard, Disappearing Man was one of those exceptions where that definitely was more like the pop side that worked for me. But it was a frustrating album. You could have cut some of these songs because it's...
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Brooklyn and I have always kind of agreed that the sweet spot for an album length is somewhere between 30 to 45 minutes. Maybe even 50 if you're
you need to tell that to your album that you picked also. But anyway.
Well, no. We'll get to that. No. I agree. We'll get to that.
Easy.
But yeah, it's I love Hayley. This one was a little inconsistent for me, a little disappointing. It's not bad by any means. I still enjoyed a decent amount of the songs, more than half. But just as an album experience, it did not click for me the way that I really would have liked it to.
Okay, so things to add on to your guys' conversation, and then my own thoughts. I did not know that Haley Williams was from Tennessee. When I threw this on the TV, it's like the visual is of downtown Nashville, and I was like, "Oh shit! I did not know that. It was cool." Also, Kid Rock, piece of shit person. I actually really liked his bar in Nashville. It was probably the cool spot. Luke Bryan's was also really cool. Now, on to the album itself. I agree with both of you. There are certain times that she's trying something new, and I really dig it. Ice in My OJ reminds me a lot of like prog rock, and I thought that was kind of a good starting place. I really liked Brotherly Hate, the bouncy kind of bass, the scratchy synth and guitar. I really liked Good Old Days. That was probably my favorite part of the second half. It kind of reminded me of like Bruno Mars. What other ones can I talk about? Blood Bros was cool. Dream Girl and Shibuya, like I didn't love the production on it, but I thought it was kind of like an interesting enough kind of story. My gripe though is that when it doesn't know when to do a new sound, it reverts back to the one that they are comfortable with. I have in my notes like they love one chord like C major seventh, and they just ride that out so that like anytime that they don't know what to do, they just go back to that, and it gets very boring. Like I don't like on paper. I think the length of this album is fine, as being a little over an hour, but because they just get into a comfortable spot, it feels a hell of a lot longer. The other influences I want to mention, Retazapine reminds me a lot of like Garbage and like that early kind of 90s alt rock and whatnot.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite ones.
Good song. Grammy nominated, that one was.
Hard was the first one that I was kind of like, oh, you know what this is? If I could kind of parallel this to an album, even though I haven't listened to the entire album, it reminded me a lot of like Taylor Swift's Bad Reputation. And I'm with Andrew in that I'm kind of frustrated with this album because we know from her days with Paramore and some of her solo stuff that she has an incredible range. So when she's like kind of dialing it back, I'm like why? We know that you are an incredible singer. Go all out. Like I'd rather see that big swing like the entire time as opposed to
do that on every song now. I mean,
not on every song, but ones that you can't, like these, like I'm with Andrew as well, that there are times where it's like we can cut out some songs, and I think there's one example in particular. But there's also time like I Won't Quit on You. Like the second half of that is really good, but it takes a little bit. Like that first half, it's like, all right, like why are we doing this? Like I get the second half is a great little payoff. But that's when it's kind of started to sound like the same song over and over again. Last thing I will say, my favorite song on this track is one of two songs that have been stuck in my head pretty much the entire time that you're listening to these albums.
Yeah. Haley Williams is forever good in the Black community. Paramore is fucking dope. You play Ain't It Fun or Misery Business in a club full of Black people, they are going to go fucking nuts. We love us some fucking Paramore. Haley Williams is dope. This album was overall, I liked it. I could tell all the experimenting and all of that. But it's a bit of a conundrum based on my personal taste and what I like know of her and stuff. So hearing that like she usually experiments on different albums, like it makes a lot of sense. I love her voice, but like we'll get to the favorite song and least favorite song, but there is a most frustrating song on here that kind of sums up a lot of it. And it's True Believer. Because I remember seeing her perform it and the lyrics are great. Yes, spot on, but the lyrics are great. But throughout the album, a lot of different times in a lot of different ways, I don't like the talk singing that is very monotone. And she does that a good amount throughout the album. And I don't like how that sounds. Like I can take Billie Eilish a little bit because she puts a little bit of intonations here and there. And I'm used to Haley just singing. And so when she does that, I listen up to Hard Again, Ego Death at a Bachelor Party, though I didn't like the repetitious like chorus too much. but when it got out of the chorus and into the verses, I really, really dug it. But throughout it, like I heard Ice on my OJ, I was like, all right, cool, we're doing something a little different, let's go. But then just every once in a while, it would get back to that the talk singing and honing down her voice and getting it very monotone. And I was like, I'm not digging this as much. I don't like when people do that, especially great singers. But I like the overall production. I liked how it sound. Even with that, her voice is still great. So I wasn't too mad at this album.
I think to piggyback off of what Rue said, I think it works at the beginning with Ice and My OJ because it's not only experimental, but it's like the beginning of the album. It's kind of like the introduction. You're getting like into it. But there was a repetitiveness to some of these songs that did really start to like wear down on me, especially with the title track. Like that's where I kind of started really noticing some like the repetitive, like I can't place exactly what it is. It's not melodies, but just like the musicality of it. And I think because of that, you really start to feel the length of this album. Once again, more good songs than bad songs on this album. But yeah, man, this one just wasn't not what I'm going to go back to, aside from a small handful of these songs.
That's tough.
But with that being said, I get it. Hey, look, I've brought album. Literally last episode, I brought an album on that I really dug, but everyone else seemed to hate. So that's how the show goes sometimes.
No, I mean, I hear a lot of the criticisms. I think that, yeah, there are songs that could be cut. For me, it just like, there's not really a point where it goes 2 or 3 songs without there being a great song in there. So like, I'm willing to forgive some of the fluff.
Well, with that being said, we're going to get into scores, favorite song and least favorite song. I'll start us off. I'm still going to give it a positive review, but I'm giving it like a 6.8. I'm going to start with my least favorite song. I'm going to go with Blood Bros. That's just the one that I don't remember a thing from it. Every single time I try to remember any element to it, it's just wiped clean. My favorite, though, is Parachute. Parachute is such a banger. And, like, lyrically speaking, there's so much emotion packed into those lyrics that it is by far and away the one that I always remember. Let's go to Brooklyn next. Actually, no, let's go to Scott next.
Okay, it's an 8.4 for me. I really enjoy this album. It was in my top 10 of last year. Yes, some fluff, but the highs are, as high as on any album. So I would say least favorite song, Zizou, doesn't do anything for me. Just kind of a skip.
Up there.
Favorite song is Whim. I think it's a perfect pop song. It's tough to choose, between a few, because I really like Good Old Days and Love Me Different also. But I think Whim for me, just you can play that song for anyone, and I think they're gonna love it, and it sticks in your head. And I mean, maybe that's one of the songs Brooklyn's talking about, maybe not, but for me, it's like the catchiest song that's on the album. So,
all right, Rue, we're gonna go to you next.
I'm giving this a 7.2. Like I said, I wasn't mad at it. There were those ups and downs. Whim was pretty good. I did enjoy that. I usually only have time to listen to them once. So when I'm listening to like my favorite and least favorite, I'm looking for the things that stick out. And my least favorite is the one that like really honed in on the way I didn't like her singing. And that was Discovery Channel. Like how you take that.
Oh, Bloodhound Gang. How did we not mention that?
Gang. Yeah. How you take that Bloodhound Gang, like full of energy banger and just make it so monotone and like, wait, are you really doing you're doing this song? I can't tell if you are doing this song. No.
Oh, please don't do this. Don't do this.
No. I like that song. I loved it when it came out, but you're just flipping the vibe is supposed to be up and fun, and you're making me remember this for the wrong reasons. From jump, Good Old Days was it. It's a groove. Her voice is great. The melody's great. I was rocking to it. very much. So Good Old Days was definitely my favorite.
All right, Brooklyn.
Muted.
And you're muted.
Thank you. Yes, it was I'm giving this a 7.8. I do like Whimscott. That is probably like one of my favorite ones to drive home to, or if I'm just like laying in bed, I would throw that one on. I'll start with my favorite. I really like Kill Me. Kill Me reminded me of like Arctic Monkeys. In particular, like how the drums kick in at the chorus, and it really just kind of like lifts everything up. I am also with you, Scott, though, and that's Zizu is my least favorite. That's one I think you just honestly cut because it just sounds like everything else.
All right.
Oh, and score-wise, that gives it a score of 7.55. If we're looking at like this season overall, it's top 5, but we've only done 6 albums. But if we're comparing it to season 2, this is like just inside the top 40.
All right. So let's start our picks with Brooklyn's.
Let's
talk
start
more
anew.
about. Yeah.
Yes, let's start anew.
Fuck you, Scott.
Okay,
It was
so
right there.
Yeah.
A little
Was this
bit
not
about-
Shad Moss, Little Bow Wow, just using his real name?
No, I don't think so. So, how I was introduced.
Your
to Shad-
microphone is.
Well, I think it's fine now.
Fine now. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try and say close. How I was introduced to Shad was, I want to say it was like 2011 or something. There was a popular a cappella YouTuber named by Mike Tompkins who did a cover of "Only Girl in the World" by Rihanna. Shad comes on and does a great featured rap verse. And I'm like, cool. I'm gonna stick around and see what you do. Find out that he is Canadian. Grew up he was born in Kenya, moved to Rwanda when he was very little, and then moved to Canada when he was like 2 or 3. So find out about him through there. Then there is a popular like interview show on CBC radio here called Q. He was kind of like the interim host for a little bit while they found somebody to kind of like permanently take it over. And that is kind of like the show, like for like they have really big names for like when they do like pressers for movies. But if you're an indie act, whether it's like music, acting, anything, like if you get on that show here, that's a big deal. Like you're kind of like getting into the scene. This is his 7th studio record. He's been doing this for 20 years. So he puts out TSOL in 2010. It wins the Juno for best rap recording, which is a big deal considering that Drake was present at the time, and he actually hosted the Junos at that moment. And then so he did a bunch of others, and then he did Start Anew. And I just recently watched an interview that he did before, because this came out on Halloween of this year. And Start Anew, he kind of wrote it with the perspective of there's a real kind of shift in the generations. Like I think from our generation to like the Gen Zs and the Alphas, and it's like what can really happen there. I loved the hell out of this. I really liked this. This is probably the most lyrically dense album that I have submitted. I just think there's so many little quips and whatnot, from the intro of like food, schools, religions, politicians to businesses, prisons to musicians, face the same decisions, living through this shift, stay alive at all costs, or see a loss at a gift. That's a fear of death or resurrection. Or you go to Slanted. Mommy's not sick, her father's father is, that's why his daughter is, the air and the water is, so of course the stock share and the dollar is, got us on tilt towards despair and intolerance. These are not my favorite ones, but there are other ones. There's like a random like Blake Griffin one too that kind of jabs at Ron Sterling that I loved too. But yeah, just like I think from top to bottom, I think it has you lyrically invested throughout the entire time. I really dug Rain, like that beat I don't usually enjoy, but like the whole like rain like a royal, we just need rain when it rain with the soil or whatnot. Kiss, Keep It Simple Stupid was another really good chorus. Islands is very chill. Look Part 1 and 2 made sense as a two-parter because Look Part 1, Ras Fresco has a really good feature. There's some kind of just a good ad-libbing there, very philosophical, talking about like gods and whatnot. And then Part 2 is very motivational. They have Phoenix Pagliacci, where if you listen to the album and certain artists that he mentions, you totally understand why she comes on there, because she sounds very similar to Lauryn Hill, and I think that was a good time to kind of feature her. And then you have like Don't has a really good like use of like synth and guitar and the chorus that really kind of like brings it up. I really like Sacrifice. And then Fear of Death is kind of like holding up the mirror to the industry and himself. Like at the time of him recording this album, he's 40. So there's definitely kind of that turning point of like, all right, well, what do I do and whatnot. But yeah, I'm really excited because I really enjoyed this.
Okay, so has anyone here listened to this album before? Cool. Brooklyn.
Oh, really? Okay. Damn.
Yeah, this was a little disappointing to me, honestly. I owe Saba an apology. Because when Rue was last on and we talked about Saba's album, I said my biggest problem was that he was trying to emulate other artists, and he wasn't really finding his own voice. And I brought up Chance the Rapper in particular, and boy, do I hear a lot of Chance the Rapper on this album, to be honest with you. There are some production choices, there's some flow choices. And that's not to say that I love Chance. I think his last album was actually really good. And this is like album 7 for this guy. I've not heard any of his other albums, so I'm going to put a little asterisk on my comments here. But a lot of it just didn't work for me. A lot of it felt like there are some moments as I was listening to it where I'm like, wow, the production on this is really, really good. I like this a lot. I kind of wish I was listening to A Tribe Called Quest instead.
I mean, you could say that about pretty much any hip hop album.
Yeah.
Well, this is also very true.
I mean, that's kind of the whole, like Jay talked about last episode, how there's kind of like gatekeeping, and like I'm guilty of it as well, but like Tribe Called Quest is Tribe Called Quest.
Well, I know, but production-wise, there was a lot of like the jazz kind of elements to it that I was like, it kind of works better here. And I understand that's gatekeeping. There were also moments lyrically that I really liked a lot. You brought up the one in Slanted that I really liked. But then there are other moments in it where I feel like he's the guy who's going, all right, sit down, kid. I'm about to teach you some life lessons. And I'm like, no, stop. Like, every once in a while is cool. You're trying too hard. Now, there were some moments that I really, really liked a lot. I really liked the what was the part 1 and 2 again? I've lost my notes here. Look, I really liked Look, especially part 2. Phoenix on that album, on that verse, was really great. I loved her. Slanted, I was a really big fan of. I loved the intro. It was great. But then there were songs like Rain, Kiss. I wish I liked Bars and Barbecues better because I liked what he was trying to do there, but it just kind of didn't work for me. So it's an album that I really wish I liked more, but it just didn't work for me.
I'm not gonna change the tune too much, maybe a little bit. I'll start with this. Mans is talented. He is a very good rapper. Like from jump, lyrically, while I was listening, I was like, yeah, this dude lyrically is great. I love the production. Of course, I heard A Tribe Called Quest. Of course, I heard Illmatic. Of course, I heard those, and I'm like, all right, cool, good boom bap beat, a lot of different instrumentation, and I really like the production here. My biggest issue is part of being an MC, and it really sucks because it's not something you can change too much. You got to have a voice, like your actual voice has to pierce. And from like I was listening to I heard the beats, I was like, all right, cool. And then when he started rapping, I was like, oh no. He sounds like an amateur dude who's trying to get in it, and he doesn't have like he doesn't have the rasp or the depth or whatever it is. Though he doesn't have the weight to his voice. He sounds like somebody at open mic night. So saying that he's been doing this for 20 years is like he can't switch his voice, which sucks. But it doesn't carry through. And like it was really apparent just about every single feature he had. I liked the feature better than him. Which again is a shame because lyrically, I think lyrically he's better than every feature that was on there. But as much as I'm a lyric guy, as an MC, you got to have the whole package. And if something is voice is a big part of it. So it was like, man, I got to be in the mood to like realize he's not an amateur. So like, and that was the biggest thing. And then on top of that, while I like the production, while I like the lyrics, from front to back, I probably couldn't tell you the difference between too many songs.
Yeah, that was the other thing.
I'm not going to remember this. Short too.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, and even sometimes short songs don't bother me. And I'll take it back to Saba again. Saba's album is pretty short. He has a couple of pretty short songs, and thematically, that entire album sounds very similar. But maybe except for one song and barely one song, I can immediately tell you one song from the next and the next from the next from the next in Care For Me. This one, I'm having trouble remembering which is which. So the combination of like, and again, I like the album. The dude is talented, but a combination of not much differentiation in your sound and voice carrying a large amount of like how you carry to people or how you go through to people as an MC. The combination of those two was just like, man, it's stuff that like, it's stuff that he can't help. It's just what he sounds like. And then, so you got to bring it somewhere else where he brings it lyrically. He brings it great lyrically, but then the production has to also like help carry your voice as well. So that's where I was at with him.
Yeah, I think it's probably unfair, but you know, we have two hip hop albums on this show, and it's on this episode, it's kind of hard not to draw comparisons. And this album, I think, just kind of falls short in all of the ways that God Sort 'Em Out excels. One of the big ones is what Rue mentions there, that I don't find anything super interesting about his voice or performance on these tracks. I actually think his flow, sometimes I have trouble, like he's not enunciating words completely at times, which, you know, is a problem. I actually don't care for the production too much. I found it kind of watered down at times. Maybe some of this is my taste in hip hop too, because I just prefer, like, I want to be hit hard, like punched in the face when I'm listening to rap, whether it's like emotionally or, you know, just with like a, you know, neck snapping banger. But I don't think that this album ever really got there for me. A lot of the songs are short, as I mentioned, which I think does contribute to some of that. Wait, which song am I listening to now? Like, you know, you kind of, the songs blend together a little bit. And yeah, I think, you know, maybe lyrically there is, like, I didn't necessarily get a lot of the depth that, you know, like you were talking about, Brooklyn. I'm not saying it's not there, but I think when the production's not that interesting, when the performer's not that interesting to me, you know, it's hard for me to like really dig in and listen to the lyrics and get what he's trying for me to get out of them. And also, I don't think there's really any hooks on this album, which is tough. Like,
there's
I think that's
one that
I think that's another reason why we're having trouble like remembering certain songs. Like why that's been a comment here is because, you know, again, the songs are short. There's not hooks. It just feels like they're kind of sketches in a way, and then we're on to the next song. And yeah, I think we have a real heavyweight that we're talking about in this episode. And, again, maybe it's not fair to compare them, but I think even comparing it to something probably that's more in his sphere, it just kind of was uninteresting to me ultimately.
See,
I will
I'm
say,
so conflicted because everything you're like, oh, it's like only 35 minutes, but that was part of the thing that reason I brought it up was because it's so short. It's like, oh, this should be good. I will admit that the production is not at the forefront, which I think is why I like it so much, is because normally I am a production first guy, but this is the first time that the lyrics really sort of resonated. I guess it was the first time in a while that I was able to remember a multiple sort of things, and I thought the rhyme structure was really good. But I get what you guys are saying. I think I'm just I was so hyped up. I thought this album was going to be incredible. I thought I was going to break the curse, especially with you, Scott, where I've brought on multiple Canadian albums, and
really?
Each one of them have just gotten bashed in the head with a fucking hammer.
You got to bring, I don't know,
Metric.
You got to bring Metric or Always or somebody like that.
I guess I could.
But Broken Social Scene have a new album coming out. I'm sure that's going to be good.
Yeah.
You do have one album in the Hall of Fame, even though they're not Canadian.
It's not Canadian.
I mean, maybe someday. I will say, us discussing everything, it did change what my least favorite song was, because it made me realize that, because originally I was going to say Keep It Simple Stupid was my least favorite song, because that's the one where it felt the most like him being like, all right, sit down, young buck, I'm about to teach you some lessons. But out of all the songs on the album, that's the one hook that I remember, actually. So that one actually kind of hopped up in my rankings because of that. Does anybody have any last thoughts about this album before we move on? All right.
I'll reiterate. Yeah. I really like the features. Almost every single one. I think there was only one feature I didn't like, but Shantae Khan's singing was great. John Kabongo, Ras Fresco, Phoenix Pagliacci, especially, their verses hit me every time they did. So I really like the features on this album.
Honestly, the moment that I heard Homeboy Sandman, I was like, wait a minute, is this Homeboy Sandman? Because I'm a huge fan of his Dusty album. So it was nice to hear him on here. Unless that was the one person that you were talking about, Rue, who that you didn't think really stood out.
I think it might have been TLO, because I think Islands had is TLO the singer?
Yes.
Then I think it was that person, because there was one singer I really, really enjoyed, and then another one I was like, all right, this is just cool.
All right. So Brooklyn, this is your album. Start us off.
All right. Can't wait for this average to go down. I'm giving it a 9.6. It's gonna. I know. It's insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And I just gotta quit it. I think I just gotta quit it.
Again, it's something I hadn't listened to, so I always like listening to something that I hadn't listened to or heard of. So I mean that's a positive.
Yeah,
and
my favorite.
I will go into a little bit further into his discography, considering this is album 7.
Yeah, my favorite is Bars and Barbecues. That is the one that I remember the most. It has my favorite lyric of the entire album. I like lyrics in Foreman Girls, Skillets, and that sort of skills that let you tour Brazil. More Than Ill, Raised on Dilla, and Lauryn Hill, the best recorded reels since Jordan Peele's horror films. I thought that was cool. And maybe it's because it's just it's buzzwordy. Maybe I'm just kind of a simple brain where it's ooh, yeah, dopamine. I remember I've heard that thing before. And that's why I enjoy it.
I remember that line. I do.
Yeah.
I do too, actually.
My least favorite is the one after it, Discern. Kind of borders on psychedelic, which I don't mind, but because it's coming off of honestly like Rain, Kiss, Islands, Bryce Barbecues are great. And then Discern is like, okay, let's try something a little bit different. It's just like it's not like that, not the best of the bunch. But all right. Okay,
we'll go to Rue next.
So as much as it sounded like I was like not enjoying this album, I still think it's really solid. Lyrics carry a lot for me. So I gave this a 7.0. But it was really difficult figuring out my favorite and least favorite song because they were all just kind of bunched up together. So like when I did my run through, the one song that stood out was Slanted. I did really like Slanted. And that was the one I remember the most. And then towards the end, I was kind of like, which is, I don't remember which is which. So I think Look Part 1 is my least favorite. I think as long as that's not the one with Phoenix Pagliacci.
No, that's part 2.
No, that's part 2.
Okay, yeah. So I would say Look Part 1, I guess. But I don't really have a song that I like outright disliked on this album.
All right. Scott.
It's a 4.8 for me. I'm sorry. Just I'm not going to see myself coming back to this album very much. So got to be honest with my score. I think favorite song, I would throw Don't in there because I think that was one of the few moments where I thought there was, some life behind the song and the production and all of that. And there was like a legitimate hook on that one. Island's probably least favorite song. That's one of those where it started out and I thought, maybe this is going somewhere, and then we got like halfway in, and it just kind of like petered out with some like watered down production, and then it was just over, and I was like, that was a disappointment.
Do it.
I'm kind of
just do it. Put me out of my misery.
I'm giving it a 5.9. I think that there's enough good lyrics on there to give it a positive score. However, there are enough elements that kind of hurt it. My favorite is also Slanted. Slanted was the one that the intro and Slanted, after those first two, I was like, ooh, I'm actually really excited for this album. And then I just kind of noticed everyone else's influence more than Shad himself. And Rain is my least favorite. I have come to realize that like those kind of like pulsing beats are not for me. They drive my ears crazy. So that one is the main reason why that one hurts for me. All right, Brooklyn, I'm so sorry to have done this, but what's the overall score?
It gets a 6.825, so it's not the worst album. It like just barely beats out Legends Never Die from R.I. the Rugged Man and Audio Daydream from Blake Lewis. But if we're comparing it to like, let's say the rest of like the Canadian albums that I have submitted, it actually has scored better than other ones that I was like, I have really high hopes for. But yeah, okay, let's just move on.
I'm sorry, buddy.
It just you'll understand why when we get to the next song.
Your mic went down again.
All right. While you figure that out, we're going to talk about my album, Songs for the Moon. Hey, you like Huey Lewis in the News? You like Michael McDonald? You like Kenny Loggins? You like Tusk-era Fleetwood Mac? Then have I got the album for you? Because let me tell you.
Why didn't you bring that up?
The Need You Now guy from Lady Antebellum. Yeah, he made an album like that. This is one of those albums where like I liked Charles Kelly's last album. And I know a lot of his country stuff. So when I first heard some of the songs from this album, I kind of like rolled my eyes a little bit. And then I gave the album like a full listen, and I really dug it. Is it cheesy? Yes, there's plenty of cheese on here. But he's self-aware enough that he kind of makes it work. Like on Place for the Lost and the Lonely, like there is no reason that song should work because it's such a dumb concept for a song, but his earnestness really kind of sells it. There are some great guitars on here, like Angel Eyes, How Gone. I really love the piano in How Gone, actually. Like the opening, just like ding, 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 ding. That was such a great little touch. The saxophone on Full Time Fool. He made a sex jam that kind of worked really well with that. Yes, it's another one where, as much as I love every song on the album, I will admit it's a little long. You can cut 3 of these.
You
One
love
in particular.
every song. You love that cover of Time After Time.
I actually really think it's not that bad.
Okay.
However, there is another cover on this album, and it's a cover of a Killers song called Here With Me. And he kills that one. Like, if you had to compare the 2 covers, there's no comparison. That Here With Me is the much better cover of the 2. It's not an album that's super deep or super lyrical, but in capturing the aesthetic that it's going for, it's a super fun album to listen to. Driving and listening to music is like the perfect road trip song. Covering My Tracks is just like a goofy but fun piece. Can't Lose You and Angel Eyes are both immediately on my workout playlists forever. So I think this is a super fun album with some great bangers that could be trimmed down, so it's not perfect, but I think it's just a really enjoyable album. I want to hear everyone else's thoughts, and has anyone heard this album before or anything from it? All right. Brooklyn, what was that?
Quiet.
Really? Again? It's
Yep, really again.
I'm here and my hands
There
is
you
right
are.
there. Okay.
Now
there
we can
go.
hear you.
Okay. So I really like this. I want to be petty now for the rest of the show, but I really, really like this album. I don't think that the length is an issue. What I really like about it is I don't remember an album that blends like that, like 80s, like synth pop sort of sound, synth rock sound, I guess, with country. So having a whole album kind of based on that, I really enjoyed. There are a ton of artists that definitely have influence on this record. You've already mentioned one, Huey and the Lewis, pretty much from the get-go, but I would also argue both sides of Genesis, Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins. I would also argue Hall & Oates, and who is the other one? Foreigner. In particular on Never Let You Go, and like that little pre-chorus and how it kind of does the bend. What I appreciate about this album is how it starts in that 80s country, kind of bends, and it's like, all right, well, like, what is something that kind of pairs well with this genre? Yacht rock. Cool. Yacht rock makes sense. And then we're going to end. I didn't love the closer per se, because it is another example of my favorite song on this record. But if we're going through, Take Back Goodbye is a really good one. I liked Run. The backing vocals in it really just kind of give it some depth. Angel Eyes is probably my favorite, like just kind of driving down the highway, listening to that one. I'll say my piece on the Time After Time cover, and it's a general gripe with anybody who covers it. If you listen to the original, you get to near the end. it's not till like that like near end chorus that she's like, I will be waiting. And what happens is so many artists that cover the song want to rush to that moment, and Charles Kelly is a victim of that. It's like the second chorus he does that, and it's like, no, why that song works so well is because it kind of stays there, and that last chorus, then it goes up. So it's just him trying to rush that moment. But otherwise else, like, I had a fantastic time with this.
Okay. Scott seems to be.
Listen, I like some of Lady A's music. Definitely, have some of their classics in playlists and stuff. So I was interested to listen to this just to see, what the gentleman could get up to. I've never heard any of his other solo music.
Oh, dude, you need to listen to the song "Leaving Nashville." It's better than anything Lady A ever made.
Okay, well then I will check it out. We've talked about production a lot tonight. I had a real issue with the production on this album. I think, like, his voice is fine. There's some melodies that are definitely fine, but every song has like the same generic production, and it's like the driving drum beat, and we're like just building up to the chorus, and then it's just these synths just sort of almost in your face, not in like a dubstep like way or anything like that, but just in a we're trying
arena
to
rock.
Yeah, pulverize you into like feeling emotional or pumped up or whatever the effect is that it's going for. And I just feel like the structure of almost every song is just extremely predictable, and Charles Kelly is having to shout along in a lot of the choruses just to like match the nature of that production. And it does sound like department store music at times, I think, because of that production.
But sometimes department store music slaps.
Yeah, that's fair. And I like yacht rock, but yacht rock usually has like some cool musicianship on it. I mean, you think about the people that you're mentioning, like Hall & Oates or Steely Dan, like, their musicianship is kind of what you come to the songs for. And I don't really get that here, except for like the occasional, like the saxophone moment on that one song. I mean, that was pretty cool. Because I think it's all just kind of the same milquetoast production, and it sounds produced in a studio and not organic in a lot of ways. And when I listen to country music, that's not necessarily what I want. Like I want the authenticity from it, and I feel like
it's not a country album, though.
Well, I mean,
it's not country. Like
I think, but yes, but I think it's still a country album. Like I think that's still what he's going for. I mean, you can't tell me that like driving and listening to music, that's one of the most basic like sounding country songs that I've heard. But
oh no, that sounds more like it was off one of the Top Gun soundtracks.
Well,
is that a bad thing though? Like it's sure, it's not like incredible.
It is for me. It is for me. But I just think I think the styles maybe just don't work well for me, because the country music that I like the most is the really down to earth, rootsy, like authentic type stuff. And this is going for that blend of like country and arena rock, which I find is more derivative of like radio country today, in a way that
no. I have to hard disagree there. Radio country today is not going for arena rock.
Some of it is for sure. Some of it is for sure.
Some of it's like, yeah, but not like when I think
today is like spoken word bullshit.
Right. When I think of like country music radio today,
okay. Well, yeah, I mean
like
that.
Morgan
Okay,
Wallens.
Sure. So I mean, I don't listen to Morgan Wallen or Jelly Roll or any of that crap. So I guess when I'm saying today, I'm thinking more of probably what now is like 10 years ago, like the Blake Show,
like the
Bryans of the world, like that type of stuff. And I think Charles Kelly is better than that because I think Lady A is better than that. So like at least the lyrics aren't as hard to listen to as in some of those artists that I just mentioned there. But in terms of the sound of the songs, there's only a few moments that really like, bring me out of the haze. And I think it is too long for sure. And it's another kind of like the last album. It's another one where I'm trying to remember which song is which as I'm looking at the track list to an extent.
Okay, Rue, you're smiling and
I'm never
smirking
getting invited back, but
yeah. So all of the people you keep listening, like and then adding the Top Gun and the Department Store, it's what I thought of when I was listening. And I was like, this sounds like a whole lot of albums I've never listened to before because nobody in my community listens to this at all. Kind of, though, and it's weird. And I have a question for everybody.
All right.
Y'all ever watch Despicable Me 3?
Nope.
Because I'm looking at this album cover, and there is a villain on it called Balthazar Brat, who is stuck in the 80s and has the shoulder pads and the high top, and he was a child star, and he just brought it back, and I'm looking at this outfit. It looks like what he would be listening to. That's what it is to me. And the weird thing about it is, every time I'm like, man, this just sounds like another version of Hall & Oates, but not as soulful, or Phil Collins and not as groovy. A song would kick in. I'm like, I actually kind of dig this. Weird. But more times than not, I am like, all right, sounds this. I think, Scott, it's Department Store music. That looks like perfectly summed up what I felt about it, but not bad Department Store music. Just stuff that like sounds like kind of forgettable, kind of knockoffs of people who've done it better. So like I thought going into the first 2 or 3 tracks of like, I'm not gonna want to listen to any of this. And there were times where it brought me back to that. But for the most part, I was listening. I was like, wow, this is actually a little better than I thought it would be after the first couple of tracks.
Damn, fuck you. Can't Lose You. The opening track is one of the best songs on this album.
So I'd say maybe it was the second and third, because I remember listening to the first track. I was like, is this what we're getting? Okay, I'm good with that. And then the next couple of ones, I was like, oh. But then it brought me back. You said at the top of the show, like, you have the largest range of like opinions. I'll be honest, for the most part, a lot of the albums are kind of in the same arena for me, where there are a lot of things I probably won't go back to. I'm not like one I'm not going to stick around for, but it's not bad. It's solid. It's okay.
I'll take that. There were a bunch of other albums that I had been considering before picking this one. Like I was thinking like, there's like this band that like reminds me of Daft Punk called Midnight Generation that I almost picked. I almost picked the Somber album because that's way better than it actually had any right to be.
Thank you for picking this instead.
But like I was listening through it one more time before like we opened up the room, and I was like, this is the one. This is the one. Because I wasn't sure where everyone would fall on it. And I kind of wanted to bring up the fact that I think Charles Kelly is better when he's outside of Lady A. I really do. Because he's underutilized when it comes to that group. So I wanted to get him out there a little bit more. This is very different than his last album, which is more of the acoustic, like kind of country music. Whereas this was just like a completely different swing. Because apparently when he was trying to get record deals in Nashville when he started, some executive wrote down in their notes, has the better voice for 80s yacht rock. And he held on to that and he worked on it to release this album, which I thought was actually a really cool little tidbit on this. So with that being said, any last thoughts? All right, so I'm going to get us started. This is a 9.3. It's a very fun album. This is one of the albums. I don't normally listen to a full album when I'm working out, but this is one that kind of works for the most part. And I love most of the songs on this album, if not at least really like. I will say easy least is Time After Time. It is a similar situation to when we talked about Al Green and I picked his cover of Pretty Woman, where it's like, it's good. It's not necessary. It's the least necessary one on this album. My favorite song is, I'm going to go with Can't Lose You, the opening track. There's a driving pulse to it and an energy behind it and just like an infectiousness that's really, really catchy. I will shout out Angel Eyes and How Gone for the guitar solo and the piano on those. Those are bangers. Let's go to Amaru.
I'm going to give this a I was going back and forth, but I'm going to keep it what I thought I was originally. I'm giving it a 6.8.
Okay.
And yeah, I was dropping it to a 6 as we were talking, and then I was like, no, I'm sticking to what I like. A lot of the albums are pretty close together for me. My least favorite track, so Can't Lose You is not my least favorite track. I remember listening to it like, this is cool. And then Covering My Tracks came on, and it sounded straight up off of like the Cars 2 soundtrack or some shit.
Yeah, I get that one.
I was just like, ooh, this chorus just is generic as shit. No.
Nah, I get that one. I respect that.
But my favorite song, by far, when that saxophone solo hit and those lyrics hit to Full-Time Fool,
Banger.
I was like, oh shit, we having a one-night stand and this is a situationship and I'm running the saxophone in the background and let's get it done. And you are smooth as fuck with this. Yes, sir. I was into that song. I was very into Full-Time Fool.
That one's a banger. I love that one. Brooklyn. Microphone. You were muted, actually. No, you're literally just muted.
I did Control D, but I did it on the wrong thing. The microphone should be a lot better now. I do apologize.
You're good.
Full-Time Fool slaps. Love that song. It's cheesy in the right way. I'm giving this a 9. I like it. I like that 80s kind of arena rock, and just kind of how it mixed with country, and it didn't like kind of stay in its own country lane. I enjoyed. My favorite is Here With Me. If I am to ever get married again, I'm going to campaign for this to be a candidate for the first song. I think it's very, very pretty. Especially you get to that Here With Me and like how the keys really hit. That's where I kind of get that like that Foreigner influence and whatnot. It's very, very tender and very subtle.
Have you ever heard the Killers version, like the original version?
I have not. No.
You should.
It's definitely different, but it's still really, really good.
Yeah. My least favorite is the one before it, Can't Be Alone Tonight. I think production-wise, it is fine. I think it's like kind of on par with everything else. The lyrics are like really cringe and kind of whiny. It's kind of like, I'm going through a breakup, but I can't be alone. I need you to be here with me, even though we just broke up. It's like, just rip off the Band-Aid. It's done. You need.
Would you say that he needs her now?
Sure. And you know what? Maybe that was the more appropriate thing to say. But yeah. That was one I was kind of like, I get that this album is kind of cheesy, but this is like really kind of like wah.
All right, Scott.
6.0 for me.
Oh my god.
6.9, you said?
6.0.
6.0. Okay.
I don't hate it. I think there are good songs in a lot of these songs, but the production just kind of oversaturates like some decent melodies and some decent vocal moments and everything in a way that I just find it hard to get past. So I just think the blending of styles didn't really work for me. But favorite song would have to be Bar. You mentioned it, Lost in the Lonely. I enjoyed that one. Lyrics were pretty good, and the hook stuck with me. I didn't get annoyed at the production or anything like that. Time After Time is obviously the worst song to me, but in terms of an original song, I mentioned it already, but I wasn't a fan of driving and listening to music. I think that it's pretty generic, and also it just reminds me of the much better song about driving around listening to music, which is modern country song, which is 80s Mercedes by Maren Morris. It's a far superior song.
I disagree with you on that one, but I do like that song, so I can't hate on you for that.
I will always turn that one up when it comes on in the car.
All right. So, with that being said, Brooklyn, what does that bring the overall score to?
7.75. Best album so far. But yeah, we still have 2 to go.
Yeah, I'm glad that you added the phrase "so far" to the end of that, because we all know it's going to change. All right. We are going to go to Scott's album next. All right, Scott, tell us.
All right, you all get your revenge now. So Forever Howlong, like I said, my favorite album this year. I think everyone else here probably hated it, but I had to fire from the hip and go with my favorite album of the year, and force everyone to listen to something different that they might not have listened to before. But Black Country New Road, just to give a slight bit of context for this, British indie group, and their previous album was kind of their breakthrough album, Ants from Up There, also a fantastic album. But when that album came out and was getting rave reviews and everything, like right when it came out, the lead singer and also sort of the head creative mind behind the band, Isaac Wood, said he's leaving the band because of mental health reasons. So they were in this weird spot of they're reaching the peak of popularity that they have and acclaim in their career, but now it's like the most important person in the band has left. So they took a couple years, they sort of restructured everything and kind of decided what direction that they wanted to go in, and they came back with this album. And the first difference is that at the foreground now are the 3 women in the band: Tyler Hyde, Georgia Ellery, and May Kershaw. There's 6 people total in the band now. And then the other thing is that their sound changed a little bit from this more sort of progressive indie rock to like a Baroque pop. What some would say is bordering on twee. Only one song kind of gets there for me, but yeah, and and basically, they use a lot of interesting instrumentation. We've got harpsichord and accordion and all this type of stuff that pop up throughout the album. It has been described by some as like questing music because at times it sounds like you are going on a medieval journey, but in the best possible way, not in like a cringy, like, I don't know, like Dungeons and Dragons type way. Like, there's a lot of impressive musicianship, vocal ability on this album. I think especially May Kershaw, the songs that she sings on, it's kind of crazy. Some of the things she's doing, those songs mainly being the title track and For the Cold Country. Her vocal acrobatics on For the Cold Country are crazy to me. And she plays 3 different instruments and also sings on Forever Howlong. If you watch a live video of it, it's pretty cool on the title track. But so there's these sort of longer songs which have these slow builds to them, and Nancy Tries to Take the Night, 2 Horses, and For the Cold Country are sort of the main examples of those. And then the back half of those songs get into like the crazy instrumentation and runs and stuff like that. And then there's some more straightforward songs like the singles Besties and Happy Birthday, which are, the closest thing that they will make to pop songs probably. But I just think this album is so creative. There's nothing else like it out there. There's nobody else that's making music that sounds like them. I love the use of all the instruments. Reminds me a little bit of Arcade Fire. I do find the music anthemic and epic at times. And yeah, it's despite having long songs, despite having dark lyrical content at times, I find this album very fun to listen to. And I think that they don't take themselves too seriously. I mean, May Kershaw on the title track is literally singing about boiling beans so she can get her vitamin B. It's just like, they don't take themselves too seriously. I think they're having fun. And I think the result is something very fun and unique to listen to. And yeah, when I heard this, I was like, wow, I thought I already really liked this band, and I had no idea how they were going to come back after Isaac Wood left. And I think they've even gone to a place that I like even more. So there you go. Everybody else have at it.
All right.
I'm going to get it out the way.
Okay.
I'm gonna just
this is not for Rue, really.
Obviously, no one's heard this album before.
Oh yes, no.
Well, I warned you ahead of time, but yes.
I will say it is not the worst album I've heard on the show. I've heard worse albums here. Everything you mentioned, I recognize, like I can respect, but this is not for me, like at all.
I literally messaged Brooklyn that like after.
Well, I mean, I said it. I was like, I'm sorry, Rue. I'm going to submit like some of the most white nonsense that like exists, and that's definitely what.
But you know what? I wouldn't call it nonsense. I love the questing music. Yeah. It reminded me of things that I do like. Like Besties came on, and I was like, this sounds like Mr. Blue Sky. Electra, like, okay, so if we're gonna go that route, okay, I can dig with that. But I'll tell you, as the album went on, the more and more I was like, okay, I'm about done with this. I felt like I was sitting in a theater watching a musical that I did not like. And like more and more, it was just like, oh, okay, come on.
Definite theater kid energy. Yeah.
I get more opera vibes personally.
Yeah, true.
It's still in the theater listening to music I don't like.
They're different things.
And the other biggest thing outside of that, because I don't have much more, but the other biggest thing outside of that is I also was like, I would rather be listening to Florence and the Machine. If I'm going to listen to something way more like outside of my realm that feels questy, that feels like kind of out there and ethereal and stuff, I love Florence and the Machine. Or at least the two albums that I've listened to from them. I haven't listened to them in a while, but like it reminded me of, man, I've heard stuff kind of like this, but with Florence, I really like it. I'm not a fan of like the different ways it's going, and like they can sing, but I'm not as much of a fan of their voices. But like again, everything you mentioned, respect, recognize. I'm like, it's not. I've had albums that were on here that I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't like any of this whatsoever. Sorry, Tim. Don't give me any emo shit to listen to ever again, please. But yeah, it was not my bag at all.
So I didn't realize that they had made such a switch in sound. Like I knew that Isaac had left, so I knew that it was going to sound kind of different. I didn't expect them to go the Joanna Newsom route.
Yeah. That's probably the closest comparison of like any artist out there is.
Yeah.
Joanna Newsom.
Or more like.
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt. I did not ever make this face, which is good.
The other artist that I kind of was thinking of was more like a Celtic-y version of Björk, almost.
Sure.
And I really like Björk. And I like Joanna Newsom. I had dropped in the chat that I had listened to every album twice, and somebody better be thankful for that. And that was this album. Because from first listen, it was sitting at like a 5. And so second time listening through, I kind of got like a better idea of what I was going into and just tried to appreciate the craftsmanship a lot more, which I was able to do. I love the like the descending wind instrument. I think it's a clarinet on Nancy Tries to Take the Night. I loved the structure of two horses and the storytelling in that one. I liked the big spin. I was a lot more into Besties than I was the first time. There are still some songs that I think is a little bit up its own ass, if I'm being 100% honest. And I'm like, I get it. It's technically brilliant, but like you're really, 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 really kind of pushing me away with this. So there's a lot of respect that is in this album. It's not one I think I'm ever going to go back to, because I do kind of prefer the debut from this group. Like Black Sunglasses in particular. I love Black Sunglasses.
You're talking about the first EP that they did. Yeah.
The first EP that they did, yes. So respect, never going back to.
Okay, I won't be as harsh. I was kind of on a similar line with Andrew, in that the first couple times that I listened to this, I thought it was fine. It was when you said Arcade Fire, that absolutely rung a bell, because it was like this kind of like grand production that I just really couldn't latch onto. Like I respected it more than I kind of enjoyed it. Then I went through it today with a fine comb, and I appreciated the arrangement and really how over the top it can be at some times. Like there are so many instruments that are used that generally do not go together. For example, Two Horses, which was my favorite at one point, uses like a mandolin and a saxophone. You almost never see those two instruments together. The other influences that I kind of heard on this album were like Sgt. Pepper's era sort of Beatles, like Fiona Apple, The Who, a tad bit of Pink Floyd. But yeah, this made me question how I ingest albums, because if I just threw this on in the background at a party and say like I like to think that like Cody Newberry is kind of like the
the idea of putting this on at a party is very funny to me.
But putting it on in the background, like putting it on in the background, like while we're at like dinner or something, and like if the median listener Cody Newberry listened to this, he'd be like, "What the fuck are we listening to?"
Oh yeah, I can't imagine
these changes. I get this, but when you are listening to an album like this for the purpose of this show to really dissect it and review it, I really enjoyed it. The longer songs I did kind of enjoy. I like that, like Scott, I think that when you were on for 8-minute epics, so we understand how a song can get fleshed out and can have these movements, and we'll get into that with my favorites. But like Nancy Tries to Take a Night was a really, really good one. Goodbye Don't Tell Me was like an appropriate closer. It kind of just fit in with everything. It wasn't this big sort of hurrah that I was kind of like expecting it to be. Socks was like, what if Fiona Apple had an accordion? Yeah, but when you said like the quest thing, I'm like, that makes so much sense. Where it's like I could play D&D to this album and it wouldn't be completely out of touch. But maybe that's a question that I throw back to everybody, and how like you ingest albums. Does your rating change from if you just have this on in the background to as opposed to like really kind of like going through every single song? Yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
and yeah,
absolutely. You got to actively listen, I think, to give a fair review.
Yeah.
Well, there are some albums like this one that I think actively listening to, giving it multiple listens, kind of understanding like the design, the structure, the lyrics, and all that stuff. And then there's albums like the one that I just had, where it's like it's kind of background but like in the best way, where it's more like driving energies and like not especially deep lyricism and all that stuff.
Doesn't require a lot of people.
No,
Yeah.
I'll get up on this hill one time and then I swear I'll jump off. The whole Start Anew thing. That's like the reason I liked it so much is because I really only had to listen to it once, and I was like, cool. Like I kind of understand what's going on. Like there wasn't a ton. I was kind of like latched on immediately. I didn't need that like multiple listens to really kind of get every little nook and cranny. But yeah, I'll stop. This is a good album. I enjoyed it the more that I listened to it.
All right. Any last thoughts on this one?
That was better than I was expecting. Also listen to Ants from their last album because it's also very good.
Scott, I'm not going to lie, it was better than I was expecting. So you're going to start us off, buddy. Score, favorite, least favorite.
I give this 10. It doesn't have any skips for me. And again, it's my favorite album of the year. And I think I only have like 3 albums above it on my 2020s decade list right now. So I think I would be lying if I didn't give it a 10. Least favorite song, obviously, I don't really have a least favorite song since it's a 10, but I would actually say Besties probably, just because I think it is the only point where the album verges on getting too cutesy. But I still like, I don't know what that was, but I still like the song. Favorite song, there's a lot of choices. I think the song that I had the highest in my playlist was For the Cold Country. I think the operatic vocals in the first half, and then when that electric guitar comes in, boom, 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 and the piano going at the same time, and then the huge outro, last chorus with all the vocals and like the child chorus and everything. It presses all the buttons for me. All the things that I want from like a Black Country New Road song are in that song. So For the Cold Country is my favorite.
All right. I am giving this a 7. A solid 7. It is one that you need to do multiple listens for. My favorite is Two Horses. That is the one that even on first listen, I was like, this is the best one. And on second listen, it just solidified it. I am between the title track and Socks for the worst. And I originally had written the title track in my notes, but the more and more I think about it, Socks is the one I was referencing when I said that sometimes they can really get up their own ass. That's the one that I kind of felt like they were a little bit too proud of themselves when making that one. And it rubs me the pretentiously wrong way. Let's go to Brooklyn.
Okay, so if I was rating this based on my first listen, this is probably getting a 6. But now on multiple listens, this gets an 8.4. I think there's stuff to go back to, and like if you have the attention to just listen to this album and not really focus on anything else, I think you can pick up on cool things. My favorite is For the Cold Country, and I want to highlight one really cool thing. Is that subtle switch into 6/8, because I feel like there are so many songs when they do that tempo change, it's just kind of like a hard cut. They kind of go into that section and go right back in, but this is like kind of more subtle. Like the drums kind of start in 4, but then there's another section of the band that goes into that 6/8, and then it eventually sort of like meshes together. And I appreciated that. My least favorite is the title track, Forever Howlong, and I have a little bit of a story behind it. Funny that you mentioned the I shall boil some beans line.
Best lyric on the whole album.
It's not though, and here's why. My son is getting into a very picky phase. For supper today, I heated up a meal that I know that he devours, chicken Alfredo. Refused to have a bite of it. What did he have instead that he devoured? He had a bowl of baked beans.
Boiled beans.
And I'm
yes.
like,
and you had to sing it as you fed him.
Pretty much. And I was like, cool. I now hate beans even more.
All right, Brooklyn, not a fan of Even Stevens. Got it. Amaru.
Great theme song though.
I'm giving this a 5.2.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not my bag, not at all. I will say my favorite song is Besties. Like I said, I got hints of Mr. Blue Sky, and I like that song a lot. Bar, I'm with you. Socks was the one that it was like, am I at a fucking musical right now? What the fuck is going on? No,
it's not one of my favorites either. No.
So that is definitely my least favorite song.
All right, Brooklyn. So what does that bring us?
It gives us a score of 7.65. So not quite as good as Songs for a New Moon by Charles Kelly. But yeah, still a little sour.
I'm sorry, buddy.
It's okay.
All right, let's get into the last album of the night. Tell us more about this album. I've never heard of this album before. Who are these guys?
Yes, I came in with a fucking cheat code. I don't know, but it's the Clipse. This was one of my most anticipated albums of the year. I don't go back and again. I don't listen to much new music. I really don't. And I'm gonna just basically first off started with like telling you what the journey was listening to this album. It was one of my most anticipated. Pusha T has been putting out music for a minute, and I've loved his albums. And Malice went away. Came a man of God, and I was so couldn't wait to hear him come back as the like Mace, but not like Mace. Mace still puts up the front of being the pastor, Mace and Betha. Malice, you just know I'm a man of God, but I'm gonna still fuck you up if I need to be, right? And the thing with this album was the first time I heard it, I actually was not as high on it as I am now. And I was like, okay, I really like this. But there are parts about it that sometimes some trends in hip hop that I'm not like the hugest fan of, specifically when it comes to choruses. And it's just like it puts everything to a halt. So some of the choruses that Pharrell would do in the beat change. So like So Far Ahead, By the Race of God, the beats are so great, and then it stops and it lets him belt out. Stove God Cooks on FICO. You don't know what I know. Like the first time I heard that, I was like,
come on, that goes.
Yeah. Wait for it. All things considered, things like that, I would listen to them and I was like, all right, yeah, they're doing their thing. This is a really good album. But I was like, I'm a little disappointed. And then I kept listening to it. And every time I listened to it, it just got better and better and better. I think Pharrell and his fucking production bag here. That is some of the best production. Even I'll be honest, the Oscar performance of So Far Ahead made me appreciate it much more. Say that again?
Grammy.
Grammy. I said Oscar. Grammy performance. Yeah, Grammy performance. It made me appreciate it so much more. And the more I listen to it, there are only maybe 2 songs where I still can't honestly say, like, I will try to say that I really like it more, but I'm still slightly disappointed by only a little bit. But like his production in this is it's mature as shit. It's him evolved to me, just using samples and different melodies and beats and using them in different ways. And what I started to realize when I listened to it, this is broken down into like 3 different parts to me. The back end is the crescendo. It's I like, by the grace of God, the use of the James Bond kind of theme a little bit going into his course and saying what's So Far Ahead. Like, all right, this is the magnum opus. This is like we're going full out. So I appreciate Pharrell's like beat switch and tempo switch with his choruses on those 2. From Mike Tyson Blow to the Face to Inglorious Bastard, it reminded me a lot of their club hits. When the last time, especially Inglorious Bastard and MTV TTF, like just kind of up tempo, but still kind of gutter. But then when you put them together with EBITDA and FICO, FICO just grows on me every single. It's just the hardest fucking thing. And then I realized, of course you get Stove God Cook on this. Of course you get him singing on this. Of course you have him going, because when you put those two back ends of like kind of club bangers, kind of up tempo with those really, really, really hard hitting in the kitchen, white cooking. Like, I don't know how many different times I can hear cocaine rap from Pusha T and Malice, but I can listen to it forever.
At least one more.
Until I die. But I think I'm going to say one as an album. This might be, between this and Lord Willin', their best album. And I think Lord Willin' is a classic.
Wait, hold on. You're leaving something out here. You're leaving something kind of significant out.
I have heard Hell Hath No Fury. I listened to it while I was walking around in TIFF about 3-4 times, and I liked it. And I thought it was really good. But I did not see what everybody else did. I didn't. But it's a great album. Yeah. But I don't know. I think I missed the train. I think that's what it was for me. I heard Lord Willin' when it came out and grinding and everybody was banging on tables. I heard this when everybody was waiting for Miles to come back. I heard Hell Hath No Fury in passing. Like, I had to play it a couple of times and I was like, this is really good, but this isn't sticking out to me like Lord Willin' did, and it didn't stick out to me like this did. And I'm going to say that the run from The Birds Don't Sing to Ace Trumpets might be the best 5-song run I've heard from these guys. Like, one after the other after the other. Like, I absolutely love the beat on So Be It. The Middle Eastern sounds, and it's just ridiculous. Point of View was one of the songs I thought I was a little disappointed at, and then the more I heard it, the more I was just like, Tyler is going off on this. Ace Trumpets, Yellow Diamonds Look Like PP, and to go from there, I can't get past it, but it's so hilarious, and the rest of the song is like, you know what, whatever. But the one constant I will say, and before I get to that, Pusha T and Malice are great. Like, Close Your Heaven for the Hell of it, or Your Soul and Your Body don't like each other. So I'll let you free it. But my goodness, Malice, so fucking good.
Yeah.
I mean, like, everybody was like, Pusha is that dude, but Malice came in and Big Bro came in and said, like, I'm not going to remind Pusha that I'm the big brother because we love each other, but everybody else, did Malice kill you on the Malice got you on damn near every song, bro. And it's so great. It's so amazing how on most Clipse songs, it reminded you, like, and the fact that he came back with the new perception, the new godliness, the new, like, just, again, man of God coming in and still giving you the hardest, most gangster bars ever that you've heard. But like I was saying, the one consistent from the very first time I hit play and The Birds Don't Sing played, and you listen to those lyrics and figuring out that they lost their dad and their mom back to back, and Malice found both of them in the same, and John Lennon singing. They sang at the fucking Vatican, guys. Like, they sang that song from first listen to now is just one of their best songs they've ever done. It's not my favorite, but I had to mention it because it is immaculate. Like, wow. I love this album. I think it might be their best. It might be the best of all of the things Push has done and Clipse has done. Lord Willin' is hard to top for me personally because I grew up on that. But man, is this album just go.
Okay. So who has heard this album before?
Who owns this album? Me.
Can I go first then, since I have not heard this album before?
Yes.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Because I feel like I might be the grumpy man in the corner here.
Oh no.
It's not as bad as you think. This album is good. This album is good. It's not great. It's not incredible. I don't know what it is, but I think it's because in one of the chats, this album got so hyped that I had like maybe unreasonably high expectations to it. Because like the catalog of people on this album is incredible. The first 3 songs of this are incredible. Birds Don't Sing, great. Chains and Whips, POV, awesome. The acronym trio that I'm calling it for the most part, really good. Really liked EBITDA. That was probably my favorite of the bunch, but also MTBTTF was a really good one to kind of ramp you into that little arc and whatnot. My favorite one that I'm not going to say is my least, that the favorite one that I am not going to say is my favorite. I liked So Far Ahead. I like when Pharrell does like the gospel-y stuff, and that's where I get the kind of humor, the kind of tongue-in-cheek, cheesy stuff. That's what I really enjoy. My problem, and kind of referencing to what we were talking about earlier, when you have like any of that production to kind of hit you in the face. If you're going to do that production style, the lyrics need to match. And there's a couple of times where it doesn't really match. It doesn't really match. Like it needs to be kind of hard hitting. Like if we're talking about like previous acts that I kind of enjoy for that style, Ice-T, NWA, and Chuck D, in particular from Public Enemy, people that can match the heavy production with a heavy sort of story and whatnot. And there were 2 songs in particular that I did not get that from, but otherwise else I enjoyed it. A little overhyped for me, but I think it's good.
So I do really love this album. The first time I heard it, I thought it was absolutely incredible, with like 1 or 2 that I wasn't crazy about. If you had asked me before recently, I would have probably said that Pusha T was one of my favorite rappers today. I still kind of stand by his talent and his skill, especially on this one. But Malice kind of jumped him a bit. It's one of those things that like it kind of took me aback, because even on, what was the name of that last Push album? Before It Dries, it's not, or like Let It Dry.
No, it's the one after that.
Oh yeah,
it's the one after that.
I got it.
Like the orangish cover or whatever. Yeah, I can't think of what it's called.
Yeah, but when he appeared on that last song and he made the Tiki Torch line, I was like, oh, I forgot how good Malice was.
It's Almost Dry.
Yeah,
it's Almost Dry. Thank you. God, the lyrics on this album are really incredible. The one that always sticks out to me every time I listen to it, though, is in The Birds Don't Sing, and it's the end of Malice's verse of "I love my 2 sons" was the code. Yeah, and I was that emotionally every single time. That line in particular is just a gut punch. There are some things that have tainted this album just like a little bit, but not enough that I wouldn't say that it's still an incredible album.
As an aside, I will say that for many years, well, number one, I'm a huge fan of Tiny Desk concerts from NPR, as I'm sure we all are. For many years, Superorganisms was my favorite Tiny Desk concert. It was in like 2014 or something. It's no longer my favorite Tiny Desk concert because Clipses exists, and I have watched it probably like 50 times since it came out. Like no lie, it is incredible. Like you just to watch 2 people at the absolute height of what they can do. Their flow is unmatched to me. You will not hear another rap act where you like every word comes through like as clear as day, honestly, because of just their breath control and everything is
Oh
insane.
my god, yeah.
And like we were talking about earlier with the Shad album, like their voices just cut right through. And yeah, I mean, I'm a huge Clipse fan, huge Pusha T fan. Although again, I agree that on most Clipse songs, Malice, does the better work. Although Push is still great. And so I was extremely excited for this album. Yeah, it delivers. I think I agree with the few weak spots being the hooks that Pharrell sings. Just kind of take me out of it a little bit. But yeah, right away, Birds Don't Sing. And for me, the way you missed Mama, I guess I should have known. Chivalry ain't dead. You ain't let her go alone. That's the one for me. Just like brilliant. Just 2 lines, literally, and like there's so much weight in those 2 lines. So you don't expect to hear that right from Clipse necessarily coming right out of the gate. And then you get songs like Mike Tyson Blow to the Face and FICO, which is exactly the sort of like swaggy drug rap that you do expect to hear from Clipse. FICO has like the best beat on the album to me. From the first listen, I was like, I just want to keep listening to this. It reminds me of my favorite Clipse song, which is Mama, I'm So Sorry from Hell Hath No Fury. But yeah, this album just delivers. And again, they're both like, well, Malice is older than 50 now, I think, and Push is almost there. And they're still just at the absolute peak of their powers.
That's one thing I wanted to mention. Like this album, and actually 2025 is a year in hip hop, from Raekwon to Nas to Ghostface to a couple other guys who are doing it. Like this album proves hip hop is not a young man's game.
Yeah.
It is a skilled man and woman's game. It's just, if you are skilled, you can continue to talk about it. So Andre 3000, figure this shit out, bro. Figure it out.
It was so sad. It was so sad watching from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when Outkast just got inducted, and it was just Big Boy performing because Andre would not. He was there and he gave the acceptance speech with Big Boy, but like he would not get out there and rap to ATLians, which was just making me sad. But
I mean, they brought Jid out, and I'm good with JID doing anything.
That's true. And Tyler also went
out
too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just this album just
add one. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say this album it delivers on what you want from Clipse. I still think I like Hell Hath No Fury more, but it has the bangers. It has some unexpectedly emotional moments. Every feature honestly goes off, except for again Pharrell's choruses. But Kendrick, Nas, we mentioned Stove God, Tyler, like they all just everybody shows up because it's like, hey, Clipse invited us. We better like bring our best material for this album, and you get it all. So it was just a pleasure to listen to this album and to hear these 2 legends back together for first time in 20 years or so making an album. And I hope that there's more in the future because again, this shows that they have no signs of slowing down.
To real quick add on to the list of people that we're bringing up, De La Soul released an album last year as well. That was another one.
I wish it was better than it was.
Oh, I thought it was so great. That was still like an 8. That was still like an 8.5 for me. All right, so let's wrap this one up. Rue, this is your album choice. So your score, favorite and least favorite.
Yeah, last thing I'm going to mention, last thing I'm going to mention, I saw an interview somewhere where Pusha was like, Pharrell got us to finally find a flow and not just rap like we're freestyling. And again, you can hear it on this album, the rapping in 4s and just switching that up. Again, it just showed another level that they can go to. This is I've been going back and forth. I would probably say like a 9.6. Yeah, I'm gonna go 9.7. I'm gonna go 9.7. Because I will say he killed it, but it's not my least favorite song. but the song with Nas is still a little bit of a like, man, I wish this was a little better, just a little bit. I like the Nas half better than I like the first half, for sure. And it's it's Champions and Let God Sort Them Out. Let God Sort Them Out, Chandeliers. I like the Chandeliers half better than that, but it's not my least favorite song. My least favorite song that still is like, it's okay, but it's still a little, it's All Things Considered with Clipse and The Dream and Pharrell. Like, I forget about it. I hear it. The beat is like a little bit, it's a little bit low key. It's one of those Pharrell choruses that hasn't like owned up to me, hasn't warmed up to me. And The Dream is, it's fine. It's okay. It's really hard to pick out of those first five what's my favorite. Again, Birds Don't Sing is the best, but it's not even because Kendrick is on it. Chains and Whips just fucking goes, bro. Like, I love Chains and Whips, and then putting Kendrick on at the end of it to just bring it home. The Chains and Whips is definitely my favorite, with So Be It being just like this close, because I think the beat is just that hard.
All right, Scott.
I give it a 9. Again, it's just the Pharrell hooks and also the trumpets, or the Diamonds line from Ace Trumpets. I just
so hilarious, ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. But such a good album. One of the best hip hop albums in years for sure. Least favorite track, By the Grace of God. Just consistent with what I've said, and also because I just wanted the album to end on a higher note. And favorite portion of a song is probably Malice's verse on Mike Tyson Blow to the Face, but then favorite song total is FICO. Like when I was talking about earlier how I just want the rap that I like the best is when it just punches me in the face. Like that's the type of song that I'm talking about, which is funny because Mike Tyson actually mentions punching you in the face, but FICO did it more. But anyway.
I agree with Rue about those first 5 songs. Looking at the track list again, that run is wild. I'm giving it a 9.3. There's some things I found out recently that did bring it down just like by like a 0.05. Favorite, I'm going to start with least favorite, because my least favorite actually may be very, very different from everyone else. It's Inglourious Bastards. I thought that song was, compared to everything else, just kind of okay. It's the secondhand news of the album for me. Brooklyn will understand what I mean by that.
Secondhand News is my dad's ringtone. So
a great song, catching a stray. It'll have
it's going to be the new phrase here on the show.
Nope, it's not. It's not.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. This is already the second.
Valid.
I am going to. I'm going to give this an 8. As much as I was like, this is good, not great. It's an 8. It's still fun. My favorite. I'm gonna kind of be with everybody else. Is Chains and Whips. Rue nailed it perfectly when you get Kendrick to end it. It reminded me of like No Church in the Wild when they get Kanye to end it. I'm like, kind of gave that same energy, and I fucking love that. Where I disagree with you guys is tracks 4 and 5 on this. I did not like So Be It. I did not like the production on it. I get that it's different.
Oh, that's crazy.
I didn't like the instrument. I didn't like the instrumentation production on it. But yeah, Ace Trumpets. I'm missing something. That's my least favorite. I'm not getting something. It wasn't cheesy enough as like So Far Ahead where you would get it, but it isn't serious enough like Chains and Whips and the Birds Don't Sing. It kind of just stayed in the middle. It didn't really pick a side for me. But I get that you guys love it, so I'll leave it at that. Did you learn your lesson, Andrew?
Real quick, my favorite song. It's between Chains and Whips and The Birds Don't Sing, but I'm gonna go with The Birds Don't Sing, just because just the lyricism on that one is such an emotional well, and it's so incredibly written. All right, Brooklyn, give us the overall score.
It gets a 9.
Oh yeah, you gave it a 9. Sorry, I forgot that you gave it a score. I thought you didn't. My bad.
Yeah. No, it gets a flat 9. It is the song to beat now. If we're comparing this to others, so like we look at like season 2, there were 4 songs that cracked above 9, or 4 albums rather. And season 1 had 6. So I mean, like, it's one of 11 albums to get a 9 or better. So I think that's kind of in high regard, considering we've done like over 100 at this point.
All right. So we're going to close this out real fast. Like, I don't know what's about to enter the Hall of Fame or anything like that. So let's start with Rue. What is the album that was your favorite that someone else brought?
The audience too, because for real, it's Ego.
Audience counts, yes.
Okay, Ego Death at a Bachelorette Party.
Okay.
That was my favorite out of the 5.
All right, Scott.
Favorite other than mine, right? Is what we're doing.
Yes, other than yours.
Let God sort them out.
Brooklyn.
I'm sorry, it's not getting into Hall of Fame. Songs for a New Moon. I like that one. It's one I'm going to go back to.
Oh wow!
Sorry,
I have often said that Charles Kelly is the white malice. Though, so.
It's reflected in my ratings. You should not be surprised.
You know what? You're right. It is, but I'm still shocked. I'm happy that the album that I brought on is like your favorite, but like I'm just kind of like shocked. Because yeah, Let God Sort Him Out is the best one that someone else brought. Okay, well, yep, another episode where nothing enters the Hall of Fame because of one singular person. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. We have our panel and we have our albums for the next episode. I'm going to pull that up right now. Where are you? Okay, so our panel for the next episode are Jeremy Adams and Caleb Boatman, 2 first-time panelists, even though we've talked with them about music a couple times. And the albums are Mountainhead by Everything Everything, Maybe You've Been Brainwashed Too by New Radicals,
I know
Girls Can Tell.
Uh-oh. Do I need to take over?
Yeah.
Maybe you do.
Okay. I can. Yay. Got time to shine.
You're back now, Mark.
So the Spoon album, Marquee Moon by Television, and the audience choice album is Never Too Much by Luther Vandross.
Such a swerve.
Right? Yeah.
I'm very excited for that one, actually. All right, guys. So please join us next time for those albums and that panel. And Amaru, Scott, thank you so much for joining us again. We're definitely going to have you back. Brooklyn, any last thoughts before we sign off?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
I'm sorry, buddy.
No, it's okay.
Have a good night, y'all. Keep on rocking.
Drive safely.